Welcome to Passion Place, the show dedicated to couples in long-term relationships. I'm Mark, a tech geek turned relationship geek.
And I'm Lisa, a relationship geek and couples counselor. Whether you've been married for 2 years or 25 years, a lot of challenges can be the same, and until we address them, they don't go away.
We're digging into the common challenges and needs couples face, and we're looking for ways to support couples on their journey. Let's get into it. So to introduce this topic, I heard a humorous example of how men and women can say the same thing and mean two different things. And it helps just to illustrate what we're talking about today. So imagine the woman says, "I don't have anything to wear." What she means is, "I don't have anything I like to wear."
Yes.
And when a man says, "I don't have anything to wear," what he means is, "I don't have anything clean to wear." So what is funny is that communication is so important, especially when we're talking about how we are feeling and the needs that we are looking for from our partner and from our relationship. So today we're going to be talking about ways to communicate more clearly and tools we can use to make this easier. So recently, just as a fun example, my wife and I were watching The Golden Bachelorette. So it's a popular...
Love that show.
It's popular with my wife and her friends, and I like watching it for the interesting relationship dynamics and insights that you get. Well, in the second episode, Joan, the Bachelorette, said that she felt bad for men who had lost a spouse because they had a harder time with emotions and they don't express and share their feelings easily. And I think in general, this is true. And so we're going to talk about tools to help men and women identify and communicate their feelings and needs. And I think we'll come back to this Bachelorette idea a little bit. So first, what is one of the tools that you use in counseling to help people identify what it is they're feeling and to be able to better communicate that?
I mean, it may seem very elementary, but we use a feelings wheel. I'm sure you've seen something like that. It looks like this, very colorful feelings, etc. And we'll have some links where you can take a look at different versions of it. But essentially, it's a wheel that describes core emotions. So think of Inside Out, if you've ever seen that movie. You have the core emotions of anger and joy and sadness, anxiety. Again, depending on the wheel, they have a variation of the core emotions. But from there, there's actually quite a bit more. Like you were saying, words matter. And when we're creating the narrative of not just our life, but the narrative of what's going on in our head and in our internal world, it really helps to narrow it down. Like there is a helpful difference in knowing, oh, I'm angry, I'm annoyed, right? Those two things are actually different. It helps to know that. It's like, Mark,
right?
I'm really angry at you. It's like,
It's like, what did I do?
Right. I'm like, Mark, I'm kind of annoyed at you right now. Different
level, different intensity. Yep.
Exactly. Or having, there's sad, but then there's variations of it. Are you hurt? Are you hopeless or feeling hopeless? So that's what the feeling wheel provides. It gives the core emotions in the center, and then it spreads outward to be able to describe more in depth what's going on.
Yes. And I'd heard this topic of feeling wheels be discussed in other contexts and just knew that they existed. But that was like the extent of my exposure. Then from your prodding, I thought, okay, I need to understand this better because these are tools that you can use in a therapy context. And the purpose really being designed to help the person pinpoint their emotions with greater precision so that they can communicate it in a way that their partner can understand.
Right.
You gave the example of feeling angry, right? So when you look at a feelings wheel, well, under the context of angry, there is resentful, jealous, or offended, and others, right? And you start to realize, oh, there are differences. And understanding the difference is really where we can start to have communication, right? Oh, I feel offended because of something that this person said. That is a more precise way to communicate that I think is really helpful.
Yeah. I'm glad that you brought that up because it's not just about identifying feelings. the reason why you want to communicate with a little bit more precision is because you're actually trying to get to something a little bit more important, maybe, than feelings. I mean, feelings are great. I'm not trying to invalidate feelings, I mean, that's my bread and butter are feelings, right? But why do we care about how somebody feels?
Right.
Because feelings will imply need. So let's start with just good feelings, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I'm feeling excited today and joyful.
Right.
Okay, what do you need? Oh, nothing. I'm feeling excited and looking forward to the future, and I'm feeling joy because I have a bunch of lavender and eucalyptus sitting in front of me. So I don't need anything. In fact, my needs are fulfilled, right? And that's one of the things that's interesting about feelings is that they're indicators. So when you're feeling joy, or something that's a comfortable feeling, right? Let's say people might say, oh, I feel good versus bad. I don't love the positive and negative connotation to emotions because then it's like, oh, if I feel uncomfortable, then that's bad. No, that's just telling you you need something. But going back to the good feelings, positive feelings, feelings of comfort, that is telling you that you have what you need. And that's actually pretty vital. I mean, as a partner, don't you want to know what brings your partner joy? Don't you want to know what brings those good emotions out for them, those comfortable, good emotions? Because then you're able to understand, okay, if my partner has their needs met, they're able to feel these emotions here. Right. So that's, like you said, just a little bit more information provides a lot more richness in a relationship. On the contrary side, the uncomfortable feelings, right? Actually, I think those are more my bread and butter, the uncomfortable feelings.
Well, that's the one people want help with, right? It's like, oh, I'm feeling hurt, I'm feeling depressed, whatever it is. And if all I'm feeling is positive feelings, very comfortable feelings, like it's a habit I'm going to have to break, right? The idea of attributing a judgment, a value judgment that this is a good emotion or a bad emotion.
Yeah, for sure.
But
if you're feeling the idea of having comfortable, yeah.
But if I'm having all these wonderful, comfortable feelings, then I'm good. I don't need anything. Yeah.
Well, you're probably on some fantastic drugs too, which, I mean, find me somebody that truly feels good all the time, and I want to know who their prescriber is. So. But I mean, to your point though, it's if we put a judgment on them, then we're trying to say that it's not good to feel bad.
Right. I should not feel this way.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a whole can of worms. So looking at feelings that are uncomfortable, that are undesirable, to have, because I get it. We don't like feeling a certain way. So typically what people want help with is, how do I get rid of this? How do I get rid of this bad feeling? And sure, I'm in the market for that. I get that. It's the same as a smoke alarm. That annoying beep, 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 beep.
Oh, the
beep.
battery's gonna die.
Yeah, on the stupid smoke alarm. You're like, I just want that to stop. And you yank it off the wall or the ceiling and you toss it because you don't want to deal with it.
Right.
Well, then what happens? Shoot, if there's actual smoke, you're not going to be able to sense it. You're not going to wake up in the middle of the night to an alarm that tells you you're in danger. That's why we need these feelings, because we need to know when we are in physical, emotional, mental, financial danger. Hence the feelings wheel.
So as a guy, we've talked before in previous episodes how just in the Western culture, there's a lot of pressure on men to buck up, be strong, don't show your feelings, right? So I think there's a lot of difficulty or challenge with men even being able to identify their feelings.
Yeah.
Just to be able to put a word to it. So, and then their ability to communicate how they're actually feeling to their partner becomes very messy. It's very, you can get a lot of emotion thrown into it. and then maybe it becomes a fight. I don't know. So
Yeah.
how do you see this as something that helps a man communicate and just identify even the feelings that he has?
Yeah. When you say that when you try to communicate something and maybe you don't have the words for it, the energy behind the emotion is what dominates.
Mm,
There's different um, ways that we communicate, through tone of voice, through body language, and the words that we're saying.
right.
And especially when you're talking about a marriage, you can tell when you've been married for a while, you start to know what that tone means, what that look means. So even if they're saying the right words, I'm not mad. I'm not mad. I'm not mad.
Yep.
Okay. Sure, Joan, you're not mad. But that's definitely what to your point is being able to have a new, more expansive vocabulary not only helps in cluing your partner in, but it clues you in too
Right.
as to what's going on. So yeah, shoot. I mean, repression of emotion. Yeah, I mean, we also look at it, we see it as a male problem, but also a female problem, but in a different way.
Mm.
So, like you were saying, the socialization of men. Mark, you're a man. Okay, yeah, just noticing that. Okay, so you're a man. How did you grow up with the thought of emotion? Like, were there emotions that were okay or not okay, or that you're more hesitant to express?
From my childhood, I think what I recall is you're having a lot of pressure about not crying, right?
Mm,
And so
hmm.
even if it's you physically got hurt, it's you don't want to cry. You don't want other people to see you cry because then I appear weak, right? Like there's just that
Right.
pressure. And it's even the other boys aren't necessarily saying, "Oh, he's crying." It's not even that, but there's like just this a peer pressure, just kind of everyone's trying to maintain this level of composure of not
Yeah.
expressing
It's
too
an
much emotion.
unspoken rule.
Yeah.
That's exactly what you're saying. Even if it's not coming from mom or dad or coach or the other kids, I don't know where we learn this, but especially little boys, young kids are like, don't cry, don't cry. And
Hmm.
actually, females are under that pressure too. We're not told as explicitly as men are told or boys are told, but females go through the don't be too much.
Mm.
Don't, maybe more in older years, how women are told to express anger. Don't be angry because then you're going to be a fill in the explicitive there, and that's the last thing anybody wants to be is that.
Right.
So it's kind of sad, you put these slang words to emotional expression and then you stop exploring what those feelings actually are. Because if you're not allowed to have them,
Right.
then why in the world would you even spend time with them? So that's what this feelings wheel starts to do is give permission and give give a voice almost to what your internal world is experiencing.
Right. In the show notes, we're going to have links to where you can find some examples, feelings wheels. We're also going to talk about another one. What is this other one that I think personally was more interesting to me?
Yes, there's so many wheels and circles in therapy. So let's just add another one. But I mean, I have to admit, I was on the same page with you when I found this one, and it's a needs wheel. So in the same way that you have a feelings wheel where you have the core feelings on the inside, and then it expands to similar but yet different
Yeah.
emotions, you have a needs wheel where you have core needs and then outside other needs that affiliate with those. And we'll go a little bit more into that, but there's an idea that there are core needs that you could pretty much fit any need into one of these core needs. And you have the need for safety, the need for growth, the need for individuality, and the need for relationship or connection. And where did those come from? Well, I pretty sure a lot of people are familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the triangle, the pyramid.
Yeah. The pyramid with self-actualization at the top. You have
Thank you.
safety at the bottom, like physical safeties
Right.
first and foremost. Yep.
That's where these needs come from. Once you hit I mean, again, because nobody's thinking about their marriage when they are literally starving or when they're underwater and they can't breathe. You got to get those needs met first before you
Right.
can move up to the next need. But assuming that you have your physiological needs met, right? The next few layers of the pyramid are relational needs. And that's where we find these four needs is the need for individuality, which means the need to be your own person, the need to produce and to progress and have purpose. Then you have growth. We are one of the few creatures, mammals, I think maybe one of the few, I'll just say that have a literal need to progress in order to have life satisfaction. So that idea of growth and progression is absolutely something that we all need in one way or another. Then you have connection, which, study after study says that we are, a tribal connection needing species. And then you have safety, and we need safety. We need to know that not only are we physically in a safe environment so that we can exist and roam and do the things that we want to do, but also safe in our emotions, safe with our ideas, safe to be silly and creative, safe financially. I mean, there's a lot of versions of safety. So all of those fit into those four core needs.
Yes. And I want to talk about my personal experience that relates to this needs wheel, right?
Yeah.
So first, just understanding I'm an introspective person, quiet on the outside with a lot going on the inside. That's me. So recently, my wife and I were on a hike together. I was walking and thinking about this podcast and the Passion Place app, and I was searching for the words to describe the need that was driving me. And I struggled for a while just in thinking about this and trying to pin it down. Finally, I realized what I was trying to express was my need for growth. The word that I was searching for was growth, which is one of those core needs. And I was so proud of myself for figuring this out. Like, ooh, I've introspected, I've dug down deep, and I have figured out I need this feeling of growth that's driving me. I remember sharing that little discovery with my wife on the hike. And little did I know, if I had had a look at the needs wheel, this would have been a very quick process to narrow down and figure out. Because I knew a lot of the words of what I was looking for under growth, but it was that whole realization that the core need was growth that was not obvious to me. But it was easier to identify those things around the outside of the wheel. But I didn't have a needs wheel with me, and it's not something I was familiar with really. So it's like that whole idea of, wow, there really is a value to having a tool like this that I can look at and help identify what is this core need that I'm trying to satisfy.
Yeah, I can definitely see different examples of that. It's kind of cool that you had that experience and found that core need, because you can communicate that to your wife. I mean, it starts to explain, hey, and I'm just filling in blanks here, but it's like, hey, I have this need for growth. Why this is so important to me, why I spend so much time with this is because this is fulfilling me and fulfilling the need for growth and expansion. And somehow just on the receiving end, my gosh, that just opens up so much more understanding. Instead of going, I need to work late, it's like, oh, okay, but why? Right.
Right. Yes.
And you found that why. That's huge.
Yes. So I have another little example I want to share with this.
No, please.
One thing I want to make clear is I think that having a tool like this in my pocket with me all the time to make it easy to identify these things, or much easier than, me having to spend this time trying to understand myself, it's a feature I'm going to be building into Passion Place because I think it's a really central part of communication. And
I think you read my mind, Mark. This is on my phone,
nice.
just as a picture,
Uh-huh.
but it's kind of frustrating. I wish I had something that would help guide me in the moment, more than anything else. Having something on the phone is great, but I've got to like go in, look it up. I kind of forget that I need to sit with it. So I think it's really cool that you just decided to incorporate that, to have that in your pocket. So when you're
Yes.
hiking, you can identify your needs.
Yes, exactly. Because I'll just be able to pull it out and quickly go through that. But to illustrate how I think this can help in communication in a relationship, this personal example, I think, is illustrative. So starting Passion Place as a full-time focus was super exciting for me. So that's part of this whole growth. It's excitement, it's expansion. This is exciting. But I noticed that my wife was feeling a bit more anxious and a bit more on edge. And while I was looking at this needs wheel and thinking about how I can incorporate that and the value it can bring to couples, so I'm looking at it and I'm thinking about it. I quickly identify what I think was going on, and then I asked her to come over and confirm it for me, and I was right. But under the safety core need, there is the word stability, and under that, there's also predictability. And she quickly confirmed that this is what she was feeling. Increased anxiety because, anytime you go out on your own to create a new business from nothing, takes away all the stability and predictability that she had been accustomed to. So this was really helpful for me to understand, because prior to that, I was wondering, maybe she doesn't believe in me. Maybe she doesn't believe this company could be successful. And I'm feeling discouraged that she doesn't have faith in me and my abilities to do this. But instead, once I could clearly see that a core need of hers was being threatened, I got it, right? I realized it's not really about me. It's about her feeling unsafe because things were no longer as predictable. So what that opened up is the ability to have communication. And it stopped me from going into a negative internal story that wasn't true. So I really, truly believe that having access to a tool like this is important and can be transformational for relationships, just to avoid fights, but also just to really help connect and bring people together in enabling communication.
1,000%. I think in your example, what is so cool about it is that you found your own need. You found that, okay, this project, this work is fulfilling my need for growth. And that's important to know and to communicate. And then it was also important for your wife to be able to find and communicate, I'm feeling unsafe, but in particular, I'm feeling that there's a lack of predictability in finances now, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then you're able to go, my gosh, I understand you. I want to see you. I want to support you. And I don't have to go down this spiral, this negative spiral, because that's what we do so often in relationships, is that we're not clear on communication. So what we do is we each have our own pair of sunglasses with a different tint, right? And then we take in people's words, and we're a negative species. We just are. That's how we're built, is to think worst case scenario a lot of the time. So we go, it's me. This is why my partner's not feeling good. And really, it's just an unmet need that, quite frankly, in communicating it, you provided her with safety and going, oh, I see you. I see this fear that you have. Hey, guess what? I have that fear too. That kind of thing. And it all of a sudden takes it away from, you're a problem. You're a problem. You're not supporting me. You're the back and forth of you. And it becomes, oh, hey, we're afraid of externally. Now we can be a team, and we can, I love, I'm indicating here, but you and your partner can become a team now in being able to get needs met.
All right. So bringing it back to The Bachelorette, right? Because, you got to talk about The Bachelorette.
We have to.
So in this first episode of the 2024 season, I noticed that Joan, the Bachelorette, repeatedly expressed the same need. She kept saying how this particular man made her feel safe. Or that this guy over here, when in their little one-on-one discussions, he was a big cuddly teddy bear. She just felt so comfortable and safe with him. And when I think a woman expresses her need to feel safe, a man can very easily interpret that differently than what she means. And I think that's where a needs wheel is actually really helpful to see all the different aspects of safety. So we saw one of those aspects of safety was predictability. That was what my wife was feeling. Joan did not elaborate in the show which needs she felt individuals were helping to provide. But some of those are things like trust. That's a type of safety. Another type of safety, I think what guys go to, they go to financially safe and physically safe. What was interesting is seeing in the show, a lot of these guys were kind of peacocking, right? Showing how much of a good mate they are for her. And the way they're doing that is they're signaling their financial ability to support her, that they are healthy, strong, vibrant, right? That they are able to physically protect her. So like that's where the guys go, because that's a lot of a core central role in a male mind, right? Of what I provide, right? But what's interesting is while those are important, those are not the whole totality of what makes a woman feel safe.
Right.
So that's what I like about this needs wheel is it helps to uncover some of these other things that are less tangible, less coming to mind with a guy in particular. In one of those, Joan described this guy as being very comfortable, right? So comfort is one of those safety words, right? So I thought that was just really interesting getting that aspect of the breadth of what makes up one of these core needs.
Right. Right. I think that you're talking about the importance of being able to whittle down to specifics. And that's, again, very helpful in a relationship. We all come with a how to care for little directions card. You know, when you go to a nursery or if you buy your plants from Walmart, like I do, and then kill them subsequently a few weeks later, you'll know that the plant comes with like a little card or a sticker or something that says, "Oh, I'm a plant that likes water," or it has a big picture of a sun, or that kind of thing, where it just indicates these are the things that it needs. Well, we all come with that too. Only sometimes people don't know what they even need. So how in the world can somebody go and get you as a plant and know how to care for you if you don't even know what you need and how to communicate that? So that's a huge thing to know is not only do I need sunlight, but hey, you know what? A lamp would suffice. Or you know what, in this case, those heat lamp UV lights, they don't work. I actually need real sunlight. Like those kind of things are how you can whittle down those needs. So I take the example of Joan, right? How she says, "Oh, I feel safe with him. He feels comfortable." Right? Well, let's imagine that you have a relationship where a woman is not comfortable. She is not feeling safety. And it's like, okay, well, what would you need to feel that comfort? That way you can actually communicate not just, "Hey, honey, I don't feel safe in our relationship and I need I need comfort." Well, what the heck does that mean? Is typically what follows.
Exactly. Like, what does that mean? What do I actually have to do to elicit
What's
this?
Comfort?
Yeah. What is comfort? Yes.
Yeah. My gosh. Well, you're wearing those shoes. Your shoes are high heels. You're
Do you want a different couch? Yeah.
Do you want a different couch? Do you want some slippers? What do you want? And it's very indicative for the person to take ownership of what that looks like. Over time, you build trust because you start to see the pattern in your spouse. But even couples that have been married for years and years and years, if they aren't able to communicate this way, if they're not able to have the self-awareness to go, okay, I have these needs and this is what it looks like. This is what fulfilling those needs looks like, at least relationally. Yeah, you're kind of starting from square one. So that's fine. I'm just saying longevity doesn't necessarily predict that your partner knows or understands you. So let's go back to safety. What does that look like? Well, comfort. I want to feel comfortable with you. Well, why do you not feel comfortable with me?
Right.
And it's like, well, and this could differ for a lot of different people, but an example of that is I don't feel comfortable in being me being silly because there was a time that I wore a goofy wig in front of you and you made fun of me, you know, and I was just trying to be silly, and I felt so shut down. I don't ever want to play anymore. So I don't feel
Right.
comfortable being silly with you. And that kind of goes to, well, what do you need? Well, I need comfort. I need acceptance
Mhm.
in those moments, you know, of when I'm doing something vulnerable or doing something out of the realm, that it would just be nice to have your acceptance. Maybe just go, that's very you. Or I'm glad that you're having fun, you know. It is a way softer way to approach and to hold somebody, hold space for somebody, as opposed to, you look stupid. Why are you wearing that? You know, and
Oh,
we've
yes.
all done these little microaggressions to each other, you know, that's it happens, but it can be eroding. So again, as an individual, knowing yourself, being able to communicate that is extraordinary. It's just very, very helpful, because how in the world can somebody care for you if they don't know what it is that you need?
And how important is it to understand what I need in a way that I can communicate it? You know, like
Mm-hmm.
that's where I see a tool like this is really helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. It gives you the foundation to be able to narrow down, oh, I would like this need fulfilled by words of affirmation.
Mm,
I would like this need to be fulfilled by a hug or an offer for help.
right. I love that. You're kind of touching on the whole five love languages, like just by
Mm-hmm.
mentioning words of affirmation and things like that. So yeah, you
Mm-hmm.
talk about comfort, right? What does it take to feel comfortable? And that can be
Mm-hmm.
expressed in different ways. And that will be an
Yes.
individual thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like, oh, you always cut me off when I'm talking. You don't let me actually express myself, or
Mm-hmm.
those types of things. You can have those conversations. I think you might need it. Honestly, a couples therapist might be really helpful to have some of those conversations if they are really painful. You know, like really triggering. Like I don't ever cut you off like you just did.
Yeah. Well, there's so many nuances to all of this,
Yeah.
but it's really helpful just to start by having this information. You know, it's
Hmm.
great to see couples go, hey, I'm curious about how to make this better. And it really does start with self. We go into some of these things going, my partner needs to do this, my partner needs to do this, my partner needs to do this. Okay, cool. Why? Why does your partner have to do it? Yes, your partner, you know, to have a basic healthy relationship, there needs to be, you know, availability, safety, reception, acceptance, all that stuff.
Yeah.
However, we all have a personal responsibility in our relationships. And one of the biggest is, again, to understand ourselves, because we cannot communicate something that we don't understand.
So true.
And also, there's something about a relationship, and it depends on your attachment style, which is another episode you can look up. We go a little bit into that. But depending on your attachment style, you may be using your relationship to get your needs met, or you may be pushing your relationship away to make sure that your needs are met. And that's actually not helpful. It's counterintuitive, and that's not what relationships are about. Relationships are meant to enhance your life, but they are not the end all be all. And also, they're not the enemy to your existence. So I like to encourage people to first start using the feelings and needs wheel to understand themselves. And
Yes.
maybe to even look at the opportunity to go, hey, I need comfort right now. I'm scared.
Hmm.
Well, your partner, I don't know, might have a job, might, you know, and or your partner might be caring for your little ones. And sometimes it's okay to take care of your own needs in a healthy way. Or you might even, as you start to communicate a little bit more deeply and authentically, you might approach your partner with a need, and your partner might not be able to fulfill it. Does that mean that they don't love you? No, no. again, it's all about how you share it. But if you go, hey, I'm just feeling really overwhelmed and worried, and I need more predictability in our schedule, because that will help me feel less overwhelmed. Well, partner B is a fireman. And she's like, I can't do that with my job. My job is very unpredictable. And, our shifts change. So I'm sorry, I can't meet that need in that way with my work schedule. But is there another way that I can help meet that predictability need for you? Right.
Right.
And that's when you get into partnership. That's the good stuff.
Awesome. Well, that's probably a good place to cut off today, because that's some really great stuff. I just felt personally that this topic was one that really resonated with me, being able to express a need and be able to identify a need in my partner, and to be able to, take out all of the stories that we tell. Because that's what we do.
Yeah.
Our brain is just constantly developing stories about what other people are thinking and seeing and feeling. And unless they're actually telling us what they're feeling and able to tell us what they feel, and because maybe they don't even know how to express it themselves.
Yeah.
But if they don't do that, then we get these stories going, and these usually they're not helpful. They're
assumptions.
Yes, they are. They're completely assumptions, and they can just be completely wrong. So yes, I feel strongly that these tools should be available to you, dear listener. And so we have links to where you can find them online. You can really just Google them. So just Google a feelings wheel, Google a needs wheel, lots of different types, lots of different designs and structures for them. There's not necessarily a right or wrong one. So feel free to use whatever you feel is the most helpful for you. But we're going to be building something into Passion Place too, so that you can have Passion Place on your phone and have easy access to it, have it be integrated as a way of helping to identify the feelings that I'm having, the needs that I want to express and feel that I want to be met, and to be able to better connect and communicate with my partner and your partner.
Yes. Well said. It's when you speak the same language, a lot more can happen.
Well, that rounds out our discussion for today. Thank you for joining us. We hope you'll continue with us next time on Passion Place.
We'll see you there.